am actually not, a quantum physicist by training or anything like that, but we really want to enable people to learn by doing as much as possible when they don't have a quantum computer in their bedroom. We want you to understand how it could actually be used now or in the next couple of years, because everybody comes to quantum computing with like, why should I care now?
Hi everyone, today I'm here with Mick Conroy from Q-CTRL to talk a little bit about Black Opal, their educational product to help everyone learn more about quantum computing and all sorts of quantum technologies. So thanks Mick for coming on.
No problems at all. Glad to be here.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and your role at Q-CTRL.
Sure. So I'm the product manager for Black Opal, our educational platform. And yeah, my background, I am actually not, a quantum physicist by training or anything like that, but I've been working in technology and science fields for about 10 years now. And I've been with Q-Control for about 4. So, I've learned a lot along the way. And yeah, really happy to talk to you about Black Opal and all things quantum computing today.
Yes, so what inspired the development of Black Opal and how does it stand out from other quantum computing learning platforms that are out there? And there's not a ton out there, I know, but definitely there was an impetus there to help with the quantum workforce. But I'd love to hear more about what you all really thought when you approached that development.
Yeah, sure. And you're right. There's not a ton out there. And actually, there were even fewer when we were thinking about it originally in sort of 2018, 2019, where Q-Control itself already had a number of products available for helping to make quantum computers useful. Boulder Opal is an example of one of our early products, but they were mostly used by experts at the time. The market for quantum computing was really early back then, especially in terms of mainstream awareness and involvement. So, but that was changing. I mean, and we understood that the need to educate the market as more and more people get interested and want to get involved in quantum computing. And so we wanted to be able to educate them as it grows. So as people get into the field, they can understand the technology, they want to come into the industry, but also they understand the potential benefits and how it can be used. That was sort of really what inspired the development of Black Opal. And so really want to bring quantum computing to everyone, allow anybody to get involved in quantum computing. And Black Opal is our way of doing that. It enables anyone to turn that casual interest in quantum computing into a career or further study or whatever they want to do with it.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know my history here, but that's kind of how I started developing content in quantum computing as well. It was that I saw a lot of articles out there that were really pop sciencey and completely wrong. And then there were a lot of articles on the research side that, nobody could read unless they were a physicist in that very, very niche subfield. So I started writing for the person that was interested in the field and interested in maybe getting a little bit deeper, but they were not a physicist and not an engineer. So this kind of feels like that niche as well. So for people who are starting out, so I've seen, at least in the comments I've seen, it's really great for investors. It's really great for people who are, don't want to crack open a textbook at the beginning and want to see like, what can I actually do with this? Domain experts that don't have to know all the tiny little intricacies. Maybe they don't, again, want to dive into the Michael Nielsen quantum information graduate level textbook, but they can start here and kind of build up over time and really figure out where their talents can best lie.
Yeah, right. And that's actually exactly the sorts of problem we were trying to address with Black Opal, because we talked to a lot of people that were probably at the same sort of stage of the journey or level of interest as you were back then, where you were looking, you had this interest, you wanted to dive deeper into what was around, but when you had a look at what was out there to learn from, it was like university lectures, recordings, or textbooks. And a lot of people found that really daunting, like to go from perhaps zero understanding or very little understanding to having to work your way through, like you say, Michael Nielsen's textbook, for example. So a lot of people just bounced off the field and or didn't come back or indulge that interest any further. And so that was the key problem we set out to address with Black Opal. We wanted to make it a lot more approachable and less daunting, and also to have everything in one place. Like you mentioned, a couple of different sources of information in your story just there. And having to bounce around amongst different sources of information is also something that can be, I guess, quite intellectually draining to be not have just one thing that you can focus on and work your way through. So we wanted to bring everything together. We think that's what helps Black Opal stand out. It leans really hard into visuals, into interactivity, into sort of bite-sized progress to sort of be a really intuitive way for absolutely anyone to learn quantum computing, and it can be anybody's first step into the field.
So can you tell me a little bit about how does Black Opal simplify these complex concepts of quantum computing for beginners?
Yeah, sure. So I think the key one, and the one that we hear the most from learners, is that it's really visual. So our editorial team, comprised of designers, animators, as well as writers, created thousands of images and animations from scratch, really, to make what is traditionally can be quite a mathematical, quite a physical, you might even say somewhat dry, make that field a lot easier to understand. And that's not to say that we shy away from those more technical aspects. We're just trying to use animations and visuals to make that more engaging and to smooth that curve of understanding so that those topics aren't as daunting when you first encounter them. So that visual aspect is really important to Black Opal. But hand in hand with that is that it's really interactive. This is not a textbook. We really want to enable people to learn by doing as much as possible when they don't have a quantum computer in their bedroom. So we help them to get their hands dirty. So in Black Opal, you're going to create entanglement. You're going to create superposition. In simulators, for example, you're going to run these circuits, not just read about them. So helping people to get their hands on as much as possible is really important to the Black Opal learning experience. That helps you focus on the practical, so not just the theoretical aspects of quantum computing, but real examples of how quantum technology is going to revolutionize different fields. Like we have a whole module on cybersecurity and encryption, finance, chemistry, logistics, all sorts of places. And we go into detail about how quantum computing can help to solve problems in those fields. So it's about what you can do with it, not just theoretical, and also what you can do with it in the near to medium term, the next few years, not looking out decades. So it's about what's coming down the pipeline in terms of quantum technology. I'd say maybe as a bonus one, I think it's also about how it's written. It's written by Chris Ferry. He's a really brilliant quantum educator and academic who's arguably most famous for writing Quantum for Babies, but it makes Black Opal read in a way that's really approachable and funny and simplifies things just enough. So I think all of those things together really help Black Opal to simplify what has traditionally been a really hard field to get into and enable anybody to get into it.
So Black Opal has now been around for quite some time. I see you all keep adding new lessons, new courses. So what skill can a learner expect to have after completing the certification?
Yeah, so as you say, we've had it around for a while. We've been adding content to it. We have 10 different skills or modules that learners work through. So I think the first thing people can expect is that you're going to have a really sound understanding of the fundamental concepts of quantum computing. So the likes of the things you would have heard about: superposition, entanglement, qubits, quantum circuits, things like that. You're going to finally be able to really understand those fundamentals, which is a sound base for the rest of what you might need to learn in quantum computing or quantum technology. But I think that the second thing, and actually one of a core framing that we have in Black Opal, is that we want you to understand the practical uses of a quantum computer, the problems that it's going to help to solve now in chemistry and logistics, in finance and cybersecurity, wherever. We want you to understand how it could actually be used now or in the next couple of years. We want to go into those things deeply. Because everybody comes to quantum computing with why should I care now? Is this something how do I cut through the hype that I might have heard about this? And so we say, well, we go straight into what is quantum computing? Why should you care about it? What is it really good for, essentially? So you'll come away almost immediately with some good answers to those questions. So it helps you to be realistic about quantum computers. What are they good at? But also what constraints do we still need to overcome? So some of the more advanced skills later on in the Black Opal course get into things like noise and how it can affect the effectiveness and the utility of quantum computers, how we overcome that with control, for example. So where are quantum computers at right now, and what are they good for, and how do we overcome some of the constraints that they have? Um, and I think lastly, in terms of what you can expect to come away from in terms of skills is, ultimately we want to get you to being able to start to learn to program a quantum computer, understand, some of the most important algorithms that exist and why they are useful, sorts of problems that they can help to solve in the real world. And that then gives you a sound basis for, taking the next step. So whether that is you want to go really deep into programming quantum computer, become a quantum algorithm developer, for example. So you'll just have that really sound basis at the end of Black Opal about fundamental concepts, why it's useful, how you can actually work with a real quantum computer, and therefore what you can do next. The perfect stepping stone really into a career or even further education in the field.
In what ways does Black Opal really try and ensure that accessibility for a diverse range of learners?
Yeah, that's a good question, and you're right. It is really diverse. We've tried to, and that's been very deliberate because when we were actually originally looking to who we might target Black Opal to in terms of who wants to learn, we talked to a lot of people, we did a lot of research, and actually what we found was that there was no real consistency amongst like the background in terms of what field they're coming from or age or area of specialty. There's actually only two things that people had in common. One was they consider themselves to be somewhat technical. So maybe in terms of regular computers. So maybe they're programmers, or maybe they're data analysts, or whatever it is. They consider themselves to know a little bit about regular computers, somewhat technical. But the other thing was that they had no background in quantum computing whatsoever. They just wanted to learn. And so what we did was we designed Black Opal to sort of leverage the fact that they understand a bit about, if I could say, classical computers. So they know what a bit is, perhaps. And so we can leverage that understanding into an understanding of quantum computers. One of the core principles for ensuring that accessibility among such a diverse range is no prerequisites. We don't assume that you know anything about quantum computing. We don't even require anything really in terms of maths or physics background. High school level, really, or just being in high school and studying those things is really all that's needed. So anybody with an interest to get started, that was really important for us. The second one is how visual Black Opal is. We explain a lot with animation and imagery first, text second, really. So anybody that has trouble perhaps absorbing information in a text form, or perhaps is being put off by having to consume a textbook about this stuff, will find Black Opal a lot easier to pass and to learn from. It's also really interactive. So learning by doing. If you'd rather get your hands dirty than passively stare at a screen, we've got you covered. This is something that's going to be a lot more engaging for you. It's also really short form. So you can make progress in just a couple of minutes a day. Each activity takes just a couple of minutes to do. So if you're struggling to maybe perhaps concentrate for a really long period of time, then no worries. You can still do this. You can make progress in just a couple of minutes each day, whether that's because you struggle to concentrate, or perhaps you just have a limited amount of time, whatever the reason is. And I'm really happy that Black Opal is helping people to make those sorts of transitions and next steps in their quantum journey.
Thank you, Mick, for all your insights on quantum education and Black Opal. So, if you're listening to this and you're interested in trying it out, sign up for Black Opal. The first topic, which is 7 or so lessons from each module, are actually free. So, you can click the link in the description below to get started learning about quantum technology.